Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Premiership Podcast. We're your hosts, Jacob,
And Elijah.
and welcome back to Episode 2. And here we are going to be discussing round 3 and the happenings, the drama, and the general antics of the AFL at the moment.
Now, sorry that this episode's out a bit late. Usually we'll be doing these live on Mondays after all the games been done. Uh, but yeah, this week I was a bit crook, unfortunately. So we've pushed it back as far as we can. So yeah, this is currently on Friday, or Good Friday. So yeah, in
We
future,
improvise, adapt, overcome.
in future we'll be live
Mm.
every Monday on YouTube. So join us when that comes around. Should be about, I don't know. We'll keep you tuned. I'll post on Twitter and all those things as well.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
All right.
All right. Starting off with round 1, the Bulldogs
Not round one,
beating the
round
Lions.
three.
Round 3. Round 3. Round 3. With the Bulldogs beating the Lions by 15 points. A very disappointing start to Brisbane's round 3 campaign, showing their inconsistencies with playing at Melbourne.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, Brisbane. Yeah, they're interesting. I'm not sure what to think of them. They played really well against Melbourne for most of the game, and then when push came to shove, they just didn't rock up against the Doggies. Um,
Jamara Ugle-Hagan beating 5 goals. Artie Jones making his debut.
yeah,
Um, their tall timber forward and defense, really showing why they're sort of going to do well, I guess, against a pretty quality opposition, but an inconsistent one in that, even though Rory Lobb was out of the side that week as well.
yeah. It's good to see players like um, Hugo Hagen really step up after the things that he's been through in the week beforehand.
Mm.
And yeah, really iconic stuff from him. And I mean, they wrapped up the game really nice. The Doggies. It's good to see something come out of this experiment from the Bulldogs with all these tall forwards and all that. So
Mm.
good to see from them.
And Marcus Bontempelli getting back into some good form after a bit of a inconsistent start to the season.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, going over to the Lions. I mean, not a great look going outside of the Gabba. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, going into round 4. I mean, they looked pretty good against Collingwood, but yeah, no, against the Doggies, it was a mixed bag. Tim English
If the
just
line, you keep going.
yeah, Tim English just dominated in the ruck. There wasn't a whole lot Brisbane could have done in the clearances. It was a bit of a argy bargy going on, and yeah, they just couldn't win a lot of the ball a lot of the time, which is a bit un-Brisbane like, but I'm sure they'll find some form later.
If the Lions want to win a final and even a premiership, they're going to have to start beating quality opposition in Melbourne, not just at their home ground at the Gabba, where they're secure and have their, of course, home ground advantage.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the ladder, pretty much every single team in the top 8 besides Sydney is from Melbourne. So
Mm,
if you are Brisbane, you are expecting to play at least one final, excluding the granny, in Melbourne. Uh,
mm.
and if you can't play in Melbourne, you're not winning the flag. And I feel like for Brisbane, you need to be making the grand final because you have the list, you have personnel, you've been going on this journey for so long. You need to be able to play in Melbourne.
Mm.
Um,
And especially with the likes of Dunkley and the inclusion of Connor McKenna and even Darragh Joyce,
mhm.
all Melbourne recruits. They're sort of used to playing in Melbourne, so you'd think a bit of leadership from them, even though there isn't just 3 players on a team. There's a maximum of 23 now, including the sub.
Mhm.
Um, so a bit of experience from them would go a long way as well in terms of playing in Melbourne.
Yeah, well, granted, it was at Marvel Stadium, so that might
Mm,
change things up a bit. Just a bit of slimmer grounds, different conditions. You're never going to be affected by wind or anything like that or rain.
mm.
At the MCG, might be a bit different, might be a bit better. It'd be very similar fit grounds wise to the Gabba. Um, they might play better there, um, which is better in the long run. But yeah, still not ideal.
And that's a pretty good segue onto the Collingwood Richmond game, where it was a pretty scrappy and wet game. Where Collingwood bet the Tigers by what's that, 14 points.
Yeah, no. Collingwood came out on top, which
Mm.
I had. I was very stoked about that one. I had them winning, but yeah, no, it's another low scoring game for Richmond. Not too sure what to think about that one. Granted, people like Nankervis stepped up a lot.
Mm.
Taranto, Baker, but like it just wasn't enough to pull him over the edge. I don't feel like Rewalt kept a couple, but I mean
Mm.
this, yeah. Collingwood's midfield
The
just locked him up. I feel like.
mm. Pendlebury's just showing why he's one of the all-time greats, if not if not the best midfielders of our generation.
That's a big call. Even at Collingwood, that's a big call. But I
Mm.
can see the argument. Yeah.
Darcy Cameron going down will have some huge implications in terms of Ruck and Mason Cox as well. But
Yep.
the inclusion of one of my personal favourite players from last season, Ash Johnson, and his athleticism down forward and in the ruck, he is one of my all-time favourites. And maybe it's a bit of favouritism here, but I just love how he plays his game. And
Yeah.
he's just a unique player with his athleticism. Like he's a forward at his core, but he played a bit of ruck down forward, and he just bet Nankervis in the ruck a couple of times with his athleticism.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, Cameron going out. You saw in the
Mm,
Brisbane game how that had, you know, the impact on the Collingwood squad. Um, but like, yeah, Degoe, Mitchell, and Nick Dacos, they all had 30 plus disposals in that game.
Nick
Um,
Dacos, he's such a gun.
he
He'll at least have, I reckon, 8 votes at minimum.
he'll make the All Australian team.
Hmm.
Might be an early call, but look, he's a gun. But yeah, no, Collingwood's midfield, they're looking really good. Tom Mitchell, who was like the guy at Hawthorn, now he's like maybe not the guy at Collingwood, and he's still putting up really good numbers and contributing a lot. They're just
Mm.
really, really deep, and I really look forward to seeing what Collingwood pulls out in the future. Uh, Maybe when they have a ruckman.
Mm.
But yeah,
When they have a ruckman, because they've got some VFL listed players that they could throw in, but they're also injured as well. So their backups are running very low.
it is
But
early in the season though, so
mm,
yeah,
in terms of Richmond, there's a pretty bad stat in regards to one of their new recruits in Tim Taranto being one of the worst kicks um, in the AFL. And there's talks that he needs to improve on that. So, what do you think of that, Elijah?
well, I haven't seen the stat, but I don't think he's too bad. Um, I mean, he puts up numbers and he contributes a
Mm,
fair bit. Could be. I mean, if he's being played as a forward, I feel like he can put himself in more positions where he can kick more goals. But you
mm.
do also have like Lynch and Rewalt down there for now, so uh, I'm not too
There's
sure.
nothing much you can really say about that game,
All right.
rather than it was a really scrappy game because it was raining before the game. So
I mean, as a
Collingwood got the. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
as a group, I mean, I think that all of them need to kind of strap their boots up a bit, but yeah.
Mm. Um, Hawthorn over in Tasmania beating North Melbourne. Sam Mitchell against Alistair Clarkson. They did not meet in the game. They didn't shake hands. They didn't do anything. They didn't interact whatsoever. A bit of drama there. But
Yeah.
Hawthorn beating North Melbourne, the apprentice beating the master.
Yeah, really, really good game. I watched this game. It
Mm.
was actually the only one I got to watch this week or last
Mm.
week. Um, but yeah, no, good contest for the most part. North Melbourne disappointing.
Mm.
Um, a lot of opportunities that they missed. I feel
Mm.
like just a bit off. Clarko Labs' zones defense just wasn't quite pulled off right. I feel like. Um, yeah, just leaving a lot of space open for the Hawks defenders to just pluck, got that one. Sicily's got another mark.
Mm.
Out another way, days off another run. It's a lot of opportunities like that where North Melbourne is not quite covering the ground quite right, and that's what led them to get such a large deficit. They came back, obviously,
Mm.
but yeah, no, if they just cover the ground a bit more in that second quarter, even, it wouldn't have been as devastating a loss. Still wouldn't fret from North Melbourne supporter. It's disappointing you lose to probably the Spoon, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what can you do? I wouldn't be. It's a good learning point, I guess.
Mm. Sheasel and Larky are putting up great performances, especially in that game.
Yep.
Sheasel just really looking at home, and Larky being that tall timber forward. He probably needs a bit of help with another tall, whether it be Coleman Jones or um, Elijah, one of your players who you want to see, Jacob Edwards, probably
Yeah.
going forward ruck. Um,
Yeah.
so in regards to that game, Mackenzie put up a good game. Sicily put up a fantastic game. Um, even with the losses that we had, we didn't have Kajitsky, if I remember correctly. We didn't have
Yeah.
Mitchell Lewis. But Fergus Green putting up some great scores there as well.
Mhm.
Dylan Moore, gun, played a really outstanding game. Newcomb, the list goes on with the young brigade just coming through
Yeah. I
the
mean,
Hawks.
we didn't have much of our younger guy, not younger guys, but our main forwards, so to speak. You know,
Mm,
taller guys. I mean, we had Darcy Moore, Bruce, but we had other guys come in and really fill in those gaps, and they stepped up. Brockman kicks three.
Brockman,
Brockman
Brockman.
kicks three. Really good stuff. Fergus Green kicks a couple. Darcy Moore kicks a couple. I think a couple of guys from the midfield came along and helped too.
Mm,
There's really good stuff from Hawthorn against a weaker side, obviously. I mean,
mm,
you would expect North Melbourne to be worse than Sydney. but,
mm,
I mean, going against 17th versus 18th against Geelong, Easter Monday,
mm.
I don't want to rule us out. We've got a bit of momentum coming into the game. Uh,
And we usually
we,
turn up on Easter Monday as
we
well.
do. We'll get into the game later, but yeah, I'm kind of looking
Mm.
forward to it. It'll be a good contest.
Now, the Giants versus the Blues. The Blues just couldn't kick straight with 9 goals 20, even though they got the dub.
Shocking.
Um, Very shocking. Controversial call and free kick in regards to the descent rule. Canelio asking the umpire with his hands out, how isn't that holding the ball, and got called descent. There's been a lot of controversy around that call, but Carlton ultimately getting the big W there.
Yeah. There's a bit of inconsistency about
Mm,
dissent. A lot of players just have no idea what's going on, so they just either don't do anything or just risk it.
mm,
So I think there's still is a bit more clarity in the way that it's adjudicated. Would be really
mm,
nice to see, just for future. But not a whole lot you can do about it. You'll cop it on the chin, and I mean, end of the day, I feel like there's more concerns for the Giants than we lost the game into a 50-meter penalty.
mm.
I mean, you lost by 10 points, and those 10 points were 10 behinds. So
That's also very
I
true as
think
well.
that you should be limiting the scoring opportunities of Carlton rather than the nitty gritty, the little bits and
Mm.
pieces along the way. Um,
There's
yeah.
nothing really much you can say about this game either because there wasn't really any standout performances. It was just very bad. I know GWS came back, but
I mean,
nothing.
Doherty really good off the halfback flank. Newman and Cripps as well. Sard, Kerno, all not too bad.
Mm,
From Carlton, very low scoring and yeah, missing a lot game. They turned up when they could.
mm.
So
And when they needed to as well.
yeah, I mean, you don't want to see a team go 9-20, but look, they got the win. As
Mm,
long as it's not a reoccurring theme, I don't think you shouldn't worry about it as much.
mm,
Obviously, Carlton should have won this game pretty comfortably, but they didn't.
mm.
Yeah.
Ross the boss, undefeated for the whole season. St Kilda getting up against the Bombers by what's that, 92 to 74.
Yeah, 18-point game. Oh, I had St Kilda this game. There was no doubt in my mind that they're going to win this one. Really, just really good stuff again defensively. Essendon's not enough answers. But yeah, no, really, really good game the whole time. Up until, I guess, that a really big goal streak towards the end from St Kilda. Um,
The Bombers came back and leveled the scores as well, but St Kilda just steadied the ship. Mason Wood putting out a great performance, all Australian performance that people are saying. Um, their forwards, their makeshift forwards, Caminini, Mateus Filippo, Higgins, Jade Gresham,
Butler,
their Butler, their midfield, Crouch is putting up some great numbers. Their defense as well. Wilkie is definitely one of the best defenders in the league, and one of the most consistent ones as well.
or best is a very big call, but I'd say yeah, pretty
What?
consistent.
Well,
Yeah.
I said one of the best. One of the best.
Oh, I think because there's a good handful of guys to take before him. I feel like there's even
Yeah,
more.
I do agree with that. But he is one of the most consistent ones out there at the moment.
Hmm.
But overall, a really great performance by St Kilda. Um, they just showed us why they're um how can we call it, why we shouldn't write them off, because they've got the injuries like we discussed last week, but they're just putting up great performances,
Yep.
even though it's against lower tier teams. Once they start playing the likes of Collingwood, Sydney, Melbourne, etc., we'll realize who they are and what their character and culture is. But overall, they're undefeated for the whole season.
Yep. Really good stuff from them. Uh, yeah, no, looking really good. I'm very hyped for the St Kilda squad. It's been a
Mm,
while. It's been a long time coming. Um, we'll see what they muster up. Now, if you're Essendon, I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect you guys to win this game.
mm,
You'd be looking towards the weeks ahead. But look, good coach, good system, and it's shown it can work against some at least mid-table quality teams.
mm,
Um, and look, end of the day, you level the scores against St Kilda, so you're nearly there.
mm.
It's just need a bit more from a few guys and a bit more structure and those things. But look, against a really really defensive St Kilda side, not too bad a job, I feel like.
Obviously, the out of Peter Wright is a very um leaves a very big hole in their forward structure.
Yeah, Darcy Parish still put up 35 disposals
Mm,
with 7 marks and a goal. But yeah, no, there's some highlights from the Bombers. Uh,
mm.
Once again,
Coldwell with those two goals in
yeah,
the last
they're
quarter.
not bad. As a team,
Mm,
I'm not. I think you could argue top 8 at the moment, but yeah, they're
mm.
not bad at all.
Adelaide disappointing the power. They caused another power outage. Port Adelaide were up for most of the game as well, and Adelaide just pegged back and blew them out of the water.
Yeah, no, I love this Adelaide team.
Mm-hmm.
Close game a lot of the time, and then yeah, fourth quarter Adelaide just went. You know what? It's open. No, we don't want to play anymore. You go home, Port Adelaide. And they sent them home. Pretty fair and square. Pretty good game for the most part. Just yeah, towards the end, not as exciting as other showdowns have been.
Mm.
Uh,
Rankin, Thilthorpe putting up some great goals. Now, the
yeah,
question I have for you, Elijah, is which team's closer to winning a flag or making the finals?
it depends on how many years you think Hinkley will still be in the job as Port Adelaide coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good coach. I don't want to see him go because I think he's a really good coach and he should have the job. But if Port Adelaide aren't making and winning prelims,
Mm-hmm.
why I'm not sure what they're doing. If they're gonna be hitting the reset switch, I'm tempted to say Adelaide. Adelaide, really, really good young core. In 5 years, I expect them to be competing for top four. Similar to how Brisbane is now.
Mm.
Really good, really young. A lot of great players coming through. Phil Thorpe, you know, he kicks a cup. How did he kick? 5 goals.
Mm.
Kicked 5 goals, Rankin kicked four. They got a few really good recruits from other teams into the draft. I'm very excited about the Adelaide team. Or the
They've got
Crows.
some role players as well. Some really good role players for the Crows. Like, got the mature age players in Sloan and Tex Walker
Yep.
leveling the ship. And then you got some role players like Fogarty, who's learning off Tex Walker, Rochelle. Then you got Jordan Dawson, the skipper. You
Yeah.
got you got Berry, the hardball midfielder, and you got Saligo as well coming through as well. Like there's plenty of excitement coming out of the Crows, but it's that's not to dimmer the Port Adelaide team's performance as well. Like they've got some good young players. Like Dersma needs to get into a bit of form again, but he's still doing really well. Rosie, Butters. And even with their mature brigade in Dixon, who's having a pretty good season in terms of how he's been in the past
Mm-hmm.
couple of years. You got Jonas down back. You got Farrell. You got Willem Drew as well, who's coming through as well. So they're pretty equal to me because they've got some really exciting young players and some really mature players.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I'd still like players like Alia to step up a bit more.
Mm.
Um, it's a bit more effort. I feel like. Um, yeah. There's a lot. There's a. Because I'm not sure how much time the Port Adelaide team has in their
Mm.
window to push for a premiership. Lost a couple of games now and they're looking very inconsistent. So, have they passed the window?
Georgiades.
I don't know.
Mm.
It's a bit of a
Georgiades, I feel, is a player that needs to step up a bit more because I
yeah,
know there's been links to him moving back to WA. So he's a player who I personally feel needs to step up more as well.
yeah. I mean, even players like Horn Francis, the younger guys. Well, I
Mm.
mean, he just came in, but
Defensive pressure.
there's a lot of guys who just need to get their head in the game a bit more.
Mm.
Over at the Power, I don't know. Is their window passed? Is it coming? I don't know how to read the future of this club. Like other
Mm.
teams, you look at Adelaide or Hawthorn or North Melbourne. You can say, look, young team, got a bright future ahead of them. They
Mm.
will be winning a lot more games in the future. But look at this Port Adelaide team, and you won't know whether they'll be winning 13 games next season, or you know, they'll be winning a flag or they're getting the spoon. You can't get a read on them.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
Especially now, like if Hinkley is still like unsure for his job, so it's very hard to get a read. And yeah, I'm just not sure of their future. But Adelaide looking really good. Don't know if Tex or Sloane will even be there for if they get a premiership. But they've got a lot of upside to them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, talking about wooden spooners, Geelong now at the bottom are being beaten by the Suns up at Metricon.
Oh,
Is it still called Metricon? Still called, or is
no,
it
Heritage Banks Stadium.
Heritage?
Yeah.
Yeah, got bought out.
Yeah.
Locatius putting up a great performance.
5 goals.
They're 5 goals, especially that one from downtown, from the center of the square.
Yeah.
But Geelong aren't looking too good. Do they need to bring in a couple of young players to really spark them up, or do they still keep that retirement age players?
Well, look, they played pretty well against Carlton and
Mm,
Collingwood. Bit of an off game for them. They looked very sloppy, very slow. They looked like they didn't want to be there.
mm,
So whether I'm not sure if there's an indication of Geelong just being lazy or what. But like yeah, you still have quite a few players, like not too bad games. Dangerfield, like not too bad. He's captain now. He's doing his job.
Cameron.
Cameron, like Stewart, Smith, like still putting in the work. But yeah, you'll see a lot of like plays when they like go forward and then it'll be intercepted, and you'll just see guys like jogging, chasing
Mm.
people, making go into space. So it's yeah.
Give him one more week. Give him one more week.
Look, I'm not sure if they've completely crashed. I've seen a lot of people saying like, oh, they've pushed all of this effort into the Premiership. Now they've just crashed. They're gone. They're not coming back again. I don't think that's the case. I feel like they've still got really good players, and I think they can push for finals again, but it's gonna be harder this season. So
Mm.
I'm
At the moment, I don't have them as a top four team anymore. I have them as a top eight team, but
yep,
not a top four. I feel like with the teams that are a lot more hungrier and take a lot more risk in terms of attacking the corridor and having the exciting youth, like Melbourne have just rejuvenated and they've got their hunger back.
yep,
Collingwood are hungry like last season, and they're showing us why. Um, those 11 wins in a row. Was it 11 or 12 wins in a row where they bet teams by under a goal? They're now betting teams by over a goal. They're betting them by 20, 30 points.
yeah,
Um, teams are just becoming a lot more hungrier, and it's in terms of wanting to win more is where Geelong need to start getting hungrier again, wanting to win and keep their legacy intact instead of just going back into the shells and just going, oh, we won that premiership. Um, we're too old, too slow. Do we need to start rebuilding or think about rebuilding, perhaps? Um, like you got the likes of Ollie Dempsey, who I feel like should come in. You got Bose, you got Tanner Bruin, who's come into the squad as well. So it's good youth there, and you got Jeremy Cameron, who's still putting up fantastic numbers. Stewart, their defense is still good as well. It's just whether or not they can maintain that hunger from last season, because
yeah,
other teams are a lot more hungrier than them at the moment.
yeah. No, for sure. Even looking at younger teams, I think St Kilda and Carlton both
Mm.
are just better than Geelong flat out.
Mm.
Geelong need to win against Hawthorn Easter Monday to prove that they can still win football.
Mm.
And I think if they lose to Hawthorn, especially if it's convincing, yeah, I don't think they're coming back. They might need to
Oh,
bottom
and
out.
4. There's only one team that's come back from 0 and 6, and that was back in 2017 when the Swans made the top 8. Um, could they do that? I don't know. But
I wouldn't be sold on the idea. No.
yeah, that there's no way. It's a very long road to return from 0-6. It's a long way back. But talking about teams that are getting hungry, Melbourne convincingly beating the Swans by 50 points.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to win, honestly. Especially by this much. I mean, I should have seen it coming,
Mm,
MCG, but yeah, no, Melbourne putting on a clinic. It was
mm.
absolutely rolling through Sydney. Uh, yeah, no, just I think it's just a better team at the moment. Clayton Oliver, really, really good.
Gone out. Gone
Good,
was out.
good
So
out. Grody stepping up though. It's really good to
mm-hmm.
see. Yeah.
Bailey Fritsch coming back in.
Hmm.
Big Roo Van Rooyen. He's slotted in quite nicely into that forward dynamic, and I feel like he's a player that they needed to
Yeah.
introduce into
Yeah.
their forward line
Yeah. If everyone's like fantasy
because
here, please get
mm,
into your fantasy team. Very low
hmm
break even. He's a really good guy. He's going to get, hopefully, good points. And he's looking really good in that forward line too.
mm,
Just in general. So, like, very exciting young people still coming through from Melbourne. The window's not
mm.
closed yet. They're still looking really, really good. I'm very excited for them.
Like you got Judd McVee
Hmm.
coming through as well in their defense, and he's still haven't seen the likes of Marty Hall or what's that what's his name JJ James Jordan
Yep.
as well. Like you got all these players still to return, and you're just bringing in all these youthful, exciting players, and you still maintain that core link in Petrarca, Oliver, Grundy being mature age now as well.
Yeah.
You got Ben Brown putting up some really good numbers after having a pretty poor season last season, so he's really improving. Lever, their defense is just really
Yeah.
good as well.
May,
They're just
Brayshaw.
mm,
Yeah. Uh, yeah.
they just seem really really hungry and rejuvenated.
They're very hungry. And I feel like they could probably go the whole way again.
Hmm
As long as they can get through a lot of the hurdles along the way. St Kilda, Brisbane,
Mm,
uh, Collingwood, those sort of teams.
mm.
Um, but yeah,
Now, in terms of the Swans, even though it was a pretty big loss, 50 points, I'm not really concerned about that loss, even though it was their first time playing in Melbourne since the grand final, and another big loss like that is pretty damning on their reputation in playing in Melbourne, and especially after losing the grand final last season. I'm not too concerned about that loss because they've got that youth who are coming through, and they've got Logan McDonald's firing as well. It's just in regards to how do they play their retirement age players like Franklin, who I still personally feel has one more season after this. I
mm,
personally feel like he has one more season because he's still putting up some pretty good numbers, like 2 goals the week prior.
yeah,
You got he was got a one match ban, sorry. The week before in round one, he put up some good numbers and good goals. So I'm not too concerned about the Swans either.
yeah. Uh, Look, at least it wasn't a bad team. You can look away from this
Mm,
one going, look, it's a really good Melbourne team. They showed up. Uh, However, you'd still want more experience on the MCG because once
mm,
again, like last year, that's where the grand finals played. It's not played in Sydney. It's not played at Marvel. MCG,
hmm
whether we like it or not. Uh, so they need a bit more experience on those kind of grounds. Playing in Brisbane helps. Playing in Perth helps. But yeah,
mm.
but they need more experience at the MCG because it's the games there which I feel like they might struggle the most. When it comes down to September, that's where they're playing. So yeah,
So pretty much the main message there, the main message is that interstate teams need to learn how to play in Melbourne to win. ultimately the big prize in the Premiership Cup.
Yeah, well, that's always been the case, and that kind of plays into the
Mm,
Victorian bias of the game.
mm,
Uh, I mean, I could voice my own opinions about that, but look, it, everyone needs to if you need to win a premiership,
mm,
and it's obviously harder for those interstate clubs to win those premierships because of that as well.
mm,
So Sydney will get the premiership points needed to make September. Not a problem. They're a
mm,
really good team. They beat the Granny last year. Uh, it
mm,
just comes down to how well will they play in Melbourne. That's it.
mm.
So, yeah.
Now on to another derby, the Fremantle West Coast game. West Coast losing a lot of men in that game, and Fremantle putting up their first dub for the season. Really kick-starting their season.
Yeah, well, it's probably about 3 weeks coming, but Fremantle
Hmm.
pulling up. Uh, yeah, no, Walter's kicking for multiple guys kicking too. They've got a lot of really good guys there. Sean Darcy, 52 hitouts. That's a lot, and they just
Hmm.
demolished them from the inside of the ground. Uh, and yeah, no, West Coast put up a fight, but it just wasn't enough, really. Uh, yeah, no, but
McGovern McGovern going down. Shuey showing his frustration on the bench after being injured. They've got a lot of men down, and even though it's an excuse because St Kilda have the same amount of injuries, key injuries. I just feel like in terms of where West Coast are placed now, I originally had West Coast in the top eight, but because of their injuries and their youth coming through, I feel like in comparison to St Kilda, I feel like West Coast just won't be there anymore. I feel like they need to decide on a rebuild right now
yeah,
because unfortunately their older players are just getting injured way too much. And even though Nick Naitanui hasn't played a game yet, and they could still make the top eight, yeah. But I feel like in comparison to St Kilda, they're not there. They don't have the confidence.
yeah. I mean, Simpson is the right guy for the job, but yeah, no, you need to. I feel like kind of decide what we're doing from next year onwards. Are you rebuilding or sticking to these older guys who are, you know, getting injured a lot? But Yo comes
Mm.
back next week or this week, I guess. Um, he'll be pretty good down in defense. I would hope. Uh, should help the younger guys a lot. Uh, but yeah, no, they're missing a lot of pieces still,
Mm,
which unfortunately to say, I think top eight is very bold call from you. But
mm,
no, they're probably expected to be one of the lower teams this year. Uh,
mm.
but you know, yeah, no, that's pretty much it on West Coast. I mean,
That's pretty much it on the game. Fremantle were just too good and too strong.
Frio's been the better side in Perth for the last couple of years now. Pretty
Mm.
convincingly. Yeah.
Now, predictions for the next round, minus the Brisbane Collingwood game that's just started. That's already been played. Sorry. Um, we've got North Melbourne Carlton. Who do we have winning that?
Ooh, North Melbourne. Well, going back a game, I had Brisbane winning against Collingwood. Good to see they got the dub. Uh,
Hmm.
but anyway, Carlton North Melbourne. I have Carlton. Now,
I also have Carlton, even though North Melbourne's new jumper for Good Friday is absolutely atrocious.
yeah, well, I wouldn't want to see him win with that, to be honest. Uh, no, I think Carlton's just better. They've shown that week in, week out.
Mm.
As long as they don't kick 9 and 20 again, I
Hmm.
think it should be a fairly convincing game over at Marvel on Good Friday. So, yeah.
Adelaide Fremantle, Adelaide Oval.
Um, I have Adelaide winning this.
I do
Adelaide,
too.
Adelaide home game against a Freo side who's shown to be a bit inconsistent, only beating the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, coming off a really good win against Port Adelaide, I feel like I think they get the chocolates this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do agree with that as well. Richmond Bulldogs at the G. Richmond will probably beat them quite convincingly, in my opinion.
I would think so, but this is a big but. If the Bulldogs made it work last week, can they replicate that? Can they do it again?
Mm.
Because if they can, Richmond's in for big trouble.
Yes,
Especially,
I do.
especially if like Taranto isn't putting up the numbers you want him to. Rewalt and Lynch, they're getting older. Rewalt's getting a bit stiffer. Uh, I mean, if the Bulldogs pull up again, they could pull up a very big upset, and I wouldn't be
Mm.
surprised if that happens. If they can make it work again, if they can get through Richmond's pressure though.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it should be a game to keep your eye on the side, definitely.
Will St Kilda remain undefeated, or will the Suns get on top of them at Marvel?
Yeah, I think they're undefeated. I love Gold Coast. I love them a lot. Really good young guys. Only team to reply to me on Twitter. Um, yeah, but yeah, no, I think St Kilda wins this one. Just defensively, Ross, the bosses, have locked every single team up so far defensively, and I feel like Gold Coast just don't. They need that openness in their forward line, and I just don't think that St Kilda will let them breathe in their forward line or even the midfield. So
Mm.
I don't think this will be a very close game at all.
Sw Swans Port Adelaide at the SAJ. Swans will probably get the chocolates quite convincingly, you'd think.
Yeah, I would want to see if Port Adelaide rocks up. You'll kind of be able to tell within the
Mm.
first 10 minutes. If Port Adelaide do show up and they're either winning or it's a close game, preferably they'd
Mm.
be winning, then you'd like, okay, it's time to watch some football. But
Mm.
I mean, if they're not, if it's a close game, because I could expect Port Adelaide to drop off later on, or if Sydney's just smashing them out the gate, I'd turn the telly off and I'd go do anything else.
Mm.
Honestly, uh, yeah, no, this is. I would expect Sydney to win this one pretty well.
Bombers Giants. Who do we have winning that?
Uh Bombers Giants. I feel like you can call this either way. You call
Mm.
me insane. I feel like you can call this nearly any way. I do have the Bombers, just based on what they've shown us before. But the
Mm.
Giants could bounce back.
It's at Marvel as well, and the Giants play pretty good at Marvel.
I think so, yeah. Um,
I'm gonna go the Giants. I'm gonna go an upset here.
okay, good. We've got one
Um,
upset. Yeah.
West Coast, Melbourne at Optus. Melbourne will probably topple over the Eagles quite convincingly.
I don't think we need to talk about this one. I think Melbourne wins. Sorry, West Coast fans,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the game.
And as discussed before about the Geelong Hawthorn game, we think that Geelong will make a stand and win. But if the Hawks upset the Cats, they won't come back. But overall, we think that the Cats will win.
Well, you have the Cats winning, right?
Yeah.
I have Hawthorn winning. Not because they're my team, but I think Geelong shown
Mm,
to be very patchy, and I'm concerned that they might not be able to bounce back. Hawthorn
mm,
coming off of a really good win, Day, Moore, a lot of those guys looking really, really good. I'm very excited to see how this game turns out. If it wasn't for a bit of a doozy on Thursday,
mm,
this might be looking like one of the better games of the round, if it goes as
mm,
expected. Obviously, I can
mm,
totally see Geelong getting out to a strong start and then winning by about 150. But, jokes
mm,
aside, I think should be a good game. Which
mm,
is Sad to see because the 17th was the 18th, but I think it'd be closer than a lot of people expect.
And it's a Easter Monday special as well. So,
Yeah.
all right, on to funny things that happened in round three.
Yes.
Um, so the funny thing that I found was the St Kilda Essendon game. There was this funny bloke thinks he is him and points at the screen. It was in the last quarter, just pointing at the screen. Bro, you are not him. You are not him. You are not a Chad. But it was really funny to see that guy just pop up on my telly and just point his finger. No, oh yeah, I'm very serious. Look at me.
No,
Oh,
no.
I was bloody
I
hilarious.
don't know if I share the same feeling about it, but I loved him. I love the moment. It's completely out of nowhere. And he's standing there like, I loved it. Oh,
Oh,
what a great guy.
Blake got a bit too silly.
No, no, I loved it.
It was very funny, but
Uh,
Bray thinks it's him.
yeah, no.
What was your funny moment?
I liked the Frederick flip after his goal. Like
Mm,
one really really good celebration. I hope people saying best celebration ever. Look, I don't think I won't call it a celebration. I was just showing off, but
mm,
that was really 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 a good athletic show display. And
mm,
the Fremantle social media just they're just milking it for interactions. I just loved the moment and what came out of
mm.
it. So, yeah, that's that.
Some very silly moments out of round three. Now what has frustrated me, is Brisbane. I'm gonna have a go at Brisbane, even though they got the chocolates last night, which we'll be discussing on Monday's episode. Um, they're just so inconsistent. And I know people had a go at Joe Danaher throughout the week about him being this undefensive player, if that's even a word, undefensive. I'm creating new words to put into the dictionary. He's not defensive. There we go. He's not defensive. He's self-centered. But I feel like having a go at him isn't the way to go because it's like I said, 23 players on a side. Um, but the inconsistencies in Melbourne when they have the list that they have is really disappointing and really makes my blood boil because I had them finishing in the top four and they've started off the season very, very poorly. And I expected better. I honestly expected better. I expect better from them in the future. And if they keep losing in Melbourne, then I'm not going to have them in the top four because of their inconsistencies. Eric Hipwood needs to go back to his form and go back to his craft as well. Jack Gunston, very good pickup and still putting up some good numbers. But other than that, it's just very disappointing. It's very, very disappointing, and it makes me sad because I, ex- I guess I had very high hopes for them because of the amount of recruits they got in the off season and their draft picks as well. Like,
Mm.
do they need to bring in some more youthful players to make it more exciting in defense or in the midfield? I don't know, but either way, I'm just very disappointed in how they've started the season
That's
in
fair.
terms of in terms of inconsistencies. I'm going to give Geelong a pass for one more week, but if they lose against the Hawks, I'm going to get very frustrated with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Brisbane have the list, and they
Mm,
should be making the grand final. They should be winning premierships with this list.
hmm
But I get what you're saying. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if I was picking something I was frustrated about, it'd probably be scoring. Can't kick 9 and 20. You can't be doing that. So they didn't giving the Giants way too much of a sniff than they should have. Giants even hit the front because of it in the fourth quarter. So I'd just like to see kicking set shots properly, taking your time in front of goal. I think it was pretty wet that game though. but I'm still not willing to give him benefit of the doubt. I still think, take your time, kick straight.
Mm.
I
Don't
mean,
line off Harry Mackay.
no, well, if I feel like if you're a professional footballer, you need to be kicking straight. I mean, I feel like a lot of them they've trained since they were juniors as a forward.
Mm.
You can't be kicking balls, into the behinds when the 40 meters out directly in front. So, I
Mm.
mean, it was wet in that game in particular. So across the league, I'd still like to see that bit more consistency from of goal.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Now, best players of round 3.
Yeah. You go
I'll let
first.
I'll let you.
Who was your best player?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jack Lukosius.
Lukosius? Okay.
He had a very poor season, and I was expecting him to be out of the squad because of how poor he performs. But he's really maturing into a player. He kicked 5 goals,
Yeah.
and he's showing hunger. He's showing reprise. He's showing pride and honor in his craft, and now he's really becoming something that he really should have been last season because he's a top 10 draft pick if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Um, he he's really improving, and I'm very happy for the bloke. Very good story
Yeah.
for the round.
Uh, my player of the week, Will Day from Hawthorn, stepped up a lot against North Melbourne. 29 disposals, unkicked behind. He deserved a goal after his efforts on the weekend, but 11 marks, 4 tackles as well, with quite a good number of intercept marks and disposals. Really, really good stuff. I really liked what he put out there He played in defense, I think.
And some midfield.
Yeah, and through the midfield. But no, I really very impressed with what I've seen from him because I feel like he's been a bit in and out, undeserved, but a bit in and out through the Hawks side recently. Good to see he's back in good form. I would argue was always in good form, but no, I'm loving what I'm seeing from him last week. Really good. Yeah.
Good choice. And does that bring us to the end of the episode?
Yeah, well, do you have any last comments about this
Final
week
comments.
or about round 3 or anything's happened in the week or anything like that?
I want to see more of the descent rule explained a bit more further in regards to actually having a sludge at the umpire instead of just asking a question, because it happened twice in round 3. And I have no real final comments, but to say it's a very unpredictable season.
It
Like
is.
we expected things at the start of the season um, from teams, and we expected teams to be lower than they are. But surprisingly, like the likes of the Saints, they've just proven us wrong, and
Yeah.
it shows that predictions aren't always right.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd Collingwood either on the verge of the top 8 or not even making finals. And I didn't even say Kilda making finals either. I had them bottom 3. Yet here we
Mm,
are, St Kilda and Collingwood top 2 on the ladder.
mm,
So, yeah, no, very unpredictable season. I like it a lot so far. Even
mm,
the what you call the worst teams stepping up a bit.
mm.
Hawthorn getting a good games in. West Coast got a win against the Giants round 2. Good games. I think really a few small sample size of teams which I'm like, good, I'm better than. But
Mm.
overall, I think every team's gotten better, and yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing this season. It should be good here on
Mm.
out.
It's a very exciting 2023 ahead of us.
It is.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed episode 2. We'll be back Monday when we said we'll be back on Mondays. Hopefully I don't get sick and it's a
Yeah.
repeat. But touch wood. But I hope everyone has a good Easter. Eat a lot of chocolates. Hope the Easter Bunny brings a lot of chocolate for all you little kiddos out there and all you man babies who watch the footy.
Yeah.
And yeah, have a good one, everyone.
Yep. Like, subscribe. We're on Twitter. We're on SoundCloud now. That'll be
Hell yeah.
uploaded onto SoundCloud later today. This should go live before the North Melbourne Carlton game at 4:20 this afternoon.
Hell yeah.
So look forward to that. We'll be live Monday, pretty much as soon as we can after the Cats Hawks game.
Exactly.
Live right here on YouTube. And once again, everything uploaded to SoundCloud. And there will be updates through Twitter and YouTube comments on this video as well.
Done. Have a good one, everyone. Bon voyage.
See you Monday.
See you Monday.
See you, everyone.